Well, good morning, and welcome to the Monday of the second week of Ordinary Time, as well as to, of course, January the 20th, where our nation celebrates a federal holiday today, honoring the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Certainly, his life was so influential with the history of our nation and literally millions and millions of lives across our country's history that our nation honors him today for the way that he, I think, spoke the truth. He spoke the truth of God himself to a nation that needed to hear the truth. And I think that if you look at the life of Dr. King, there are many things that he said and many ways that he said it, but perhaps none more famous than his famous I Have a Dream speech, which I have listed on the blog itself. And if you look at the I Have a Dream speech, what's amazing about it is not only its piercing clarity about the dignity of human life and the wisdom that comes from the scriptures themselves, but his very bold, but I think a loving proclamation of that truth to all those who were invited to hear it. His commitment to nonviolence was probably the thing that won the hearts of those who could really make an impact and influence legislation, which of course influenced so many people's lives. And Dr. King was called by God to speak the truth to a nation that needed to hear it, but at the same time to speak that truth in love so that the nation could hear it. Exactly the same thing that we see in the first reading today. In 1 Samuel chapter 15, we see the prophet Samuel led by God to speak to Saul, who is king of Israel, who's leader of Israel. And he is there to proclaim the truth to Saul so that Saul can hear it. He is there to proclaim the truth to Saul, a little fraternal correction, you might say, a brother to brother, person to person. And he is there to speak the word to Saul. I think there's something that we have lost in our commitment as disciples, and that's something called fraternal correction. Our ability to love the people that God has brought into our lives, our fellow disciples, our siblings, our parents, our sons and daughters, our spouses, our closest friends. There are people in our life. And I think that we have been so influenced by a very secular, rationalizing where we hesitate in what the tradition would call fraternal correction, where we would speak the truth in love to one of our brothers and sisters who we're walking on the journey with. Whenever we see somebody struggling in their moral life or in their spiritual life, it's far too easy for us just to kind of look the other way and hold back from saying something because either we don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, or we just bought into this lie that what people do behind closed doors is just up to them. That's not what Samuel said, and that's certainly not what Dr. King thought. And I can promise you that's not what the scriptures say, that we are called sometimes by God to bring fraternal correction to those people who are closest to us. The key is two things. Number one, to proclaim the truth and to do it with love. Just because we love somebody doesn't mean we compromise the truth. Just because we love somebody doesn't mean we kind of compromise or say less about the truth that's needed to hear. Nor do we simply proclaim the truth without love or tending to how that message might be received somebody. The art of fraternal correction is to offer the truth in love so that the person that we're speaking to can hear it. And I'll be honest with you, far too often fraternal correction is involving the people who are closest to us, and that's never an easy thing for us to do, but it's something that we're called to do. Samuel was called to do it to Saul, and perhaps there'll be times in your own life where God may be calling you to share the truth with those that you're closest to. Most important thing is to only do it when God asks you to do it. And perhaps sometimes the most important thing is to ask God if he's calling you to do it. Let's never turn our back on the truth, and let's never turn our back on the people in our life who love us and who we love. But our relationships need to be grounded and founded in truth. If not, they'll be grounded and founded in personal personalities or different expectations that may or may not lead us to God. Let's learn from the scriptures. Let's learn from Dr. King. And let's celebrate the gift of the truth that God has given us by asking the Lord if there's anybody in our life that we need to offer fraternal correction to. Let's not shy away from those relationships so that our relationships, like our relationship with God, are always grounded in truth. God bless you.